Well, good morning. It is October 25th, and I'm with my brother-in-law, Tim. You want to say hi? And we are driving north from north central Florida, from their house in Flora Home. And we're just off of 75, and hey, we're at a Buc-ee's. So the plan for today is getting up to Davenport Gap, which is on the north side of Smoky Mountain National Forest, and I'm going to start hiking southbound. My plan for today is just like 2.5 miles just to get out of the gap to the first shelter, because it's like a 9.5 hour drive from where we started, and realistically, including stops and stuff, it's probably going to be 11 hours. So just going to do 2.5 miles of trail, get to the first shelter, and then go from there. Another friend of mine is going to be meeting up with me at various points along the way and resupplying me. So you'll meet him later. His name's Kelly. I don't know if I mentioned him. I think I did mention him earlier in the trek. Yeah, so that's the plan right now. And just gonna see if I can get those miles done down to Springer. And then from there, decide if I can do the last 35 miles between Davenport Gap and Hot Springs. See if I can finish it out. So I will see you later, hopefully on the trail. All right. Well, I'm back on the trail. It's a little after 4 o'clock, and gosh, we just took this crazy road to get here. Lots and lots of turns. Yeah, Tim just dropped me off a few minutes ago, and I am now in Great Smoky Mountain National Forest. Yeah, so I'm at, I was at the Davenport Gap, and I lied earlier. I was mistaken. Let's just say I was mistaken earlier. I had the wrong waypoint marked earlier, and I actually only have to go a little over a mile to get to the shelter. So it'll be a good, easy first day back on the trail. Only a mile with about 550 feet of elevation gain. So good way to break back in, because I've been doing some work in Florida, but again, it's not the same. So got to get these muscles used to going up and down again. But it's a nice day right now. It's probably in the, maybe the high 60s. And it's gonna get a bit cooler overnight. So, should be good. Alrighty, well, as always, if I see anything interesting, I'll grab a picture or some video. But for now, here's what the trail looks like. All right, it's about a half hour later. and made it to the Davenport Gap shelter. It is, I think, the only shelter remaining on the trail in the Smoky Forest that still has a gate. So this gate is meant to keep out the bears, and you are instructed to keep your food in the shelter because there's no bear box or cables. So this is one place where you have to keep your food in the shelter. All right. So let's see. We got a water source. It's that way, and no privy here, unfortunately, but that's the way it is. Otherwise, looks nice. The next shelter along the trail is about 7 miles away, so I don't think I've got enough time to get there, or else I would have kept going. But made it to the shelter, plenty of time, and I'll have time to cook my meal while there's still some daylight, and it should be a nice night, and I'll get up and get going in the morning. All right, I'll see you in a bit. All right, well, so I've had, my dinner and just relaxing a bit right now. Set up my stuff in the shelter. I don't expect anybody else to come by. This is the northernmost shelter in the Smokies, and there's not a lot of people on the trail right now. So I don't think anybody else is going to be coming by. It's about 6:30, I suppose, and so sundown's going to be soon. It's good to be back on the trail, even though I only did a mile. After what happened last month, I guess, it was last month. I was pretty depressed. I figured it was over. And so I'm very happy to be back on the trail. I'm gonna try and knock out the 240 miles to Springer, and then see what happens. Right? See if things open up between here and Hot Springs, then I'll try and get that done as well. And if not, then I'll get it done when sometime next year. When things are better. But from what I've seen and heard and read, the trail is supposed to be in pretty decent shape between here and Georgia, and Georgia's fine. And I have somebody who's going to be supporting me, so I don't have to worry so much about the towns. And I will, plan to stay at a hostel or two along the way. To support them. And I will go into a couple towns, but this area didn't get hit nearly as hard as north of here. So I feel okay about hiking it, and I've been, seeing some people who've been hiking at least through the Smoky Forest, and they've been able to get through. There's some recent comments on Far Out saying about the water sources and just the trail in general. So I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to get through the trail. I've got to work on get my legs back. The 1 mile, it was all uphill. It wasn't too bad. I'm mostly worried about the downhills. Those have always been tougher on my legs, and even just the little bit that I had to do today, I could really feel it on my knees. So that's something I'm going to have to, take a little slower and be careful, and get those muscles working again. But yeah, again, I'm just really happy to be back, and still with the support of my family, and looking forward to getting, hopefully most of it done. Um, so huge thanks to Tim. Yeah, he just like I don't know if I mentioned, but he was driving up to Pennsylvania to visit his mother, and so he went really far out of his way to get me here, because it would have been a much easier and more direct route to go up 95, and instead we did 75 and took some other not necessarily some back roads. Well, some of them are back roads, but um, it was not an easy drive to get here. So thank you, Tim. I really appreciate it, and it was good talking to you along the way. So my plan is to my overall plan, like I mentioned, is to get to Springer, and then from Springer decide whether or not to get back up to Davenport Gap and hike north, probably to Hot Springs, and that'll just depend on whether or not we get any information about the trail, and if we can reasonably then get into Hot Springs. I think we can. I don't think that's too much of the issue. I think the trail itself between Davenport Gap and Hot Springs is the concern. I haven't read any information about that part of the trail. And the one forest that part of the trail goes through is still closed, not inviting visitors. So, right then, that's an immediate no, right? If it's still closed, that's an immediate no. So we'll have to see how that goes over the next couple of weeks and go from there. My plan for tomorrow is 7 miles, and that's just going to take me to the next shelter. And really, that's just to make sure I'm still in reasonable shape, and then try and go a little bit further the next day, and further the next day, and try and get up to 15-mile days again. It's we're past the fall equinox, and so the days are shorter, right? The daylight is less now, so I probably won't be able to do those 20-mile days anymore. Or if I do, I'm going to have to be hiking, probably during in the dark for a while, which I've done. I just I don't really like to do that if at all possible. So I'm going to try to get back up to 15-mile days and knock out the 240 miles. But we'll just have to see how it goes. Alrighty, well, again, thank you, Tim, for getting me here. And as always, if you stuck through to the end, I appreciate it. I'll see you again tomorrow on the trail.